Hey everyone, last episode I talked about 3 chip stocks that I thought were a timely buy for the fourth quarter of 2022, but with only 3 chip stocks, that's a pretty short list, and I left out a lot of some of the most popular names out there. Where do companies like an Nvidia, for example, fall into your basket of stocks in your portfolio? Well, I call companies like this a set it and forget it type of investment. It may not be the most timely buy right now. Some of these stocks like Nvidia are expensive. They're high priced. That's because investors expect them to have a very, very long runway of fast growth. So best way to handle something like this, I buy it, leave it alone. Maybe I check in once in a while and add a couple more shares to my position. But by and large, I'm not worried about what the price is doing. I set it and I forget it. So I've got 3 more stocks that I think fall into this category. The 3 stocks I'll be talking about for this list today are number 1, Nvidia, number 2, Marvell Technology Group, and number 3, ASML Holding. First one, Nvidia. I think doesn't really need much of an introduction at this point, but why is it a set it and forget it stock? I think it's necessarily a timely buy right now, especially not with the stock trading at close to 50 times trailing 12-month free cash flow. That valuation is after the stock has been absolutely clobbered some 60% this year. This thing was toting a really, really high valuation in late 2021. And it still is, but I think there's really good reason for that. When you talk about companies that are helping power AI, I think the conversation really has to start with Nvidia. They're doing some really special things. They're going even beyond just designing chips and really becoming a type of company that doesn't exist yet. So they're designing chips that companies can take, really customized to their particular needs for whatever they need AI to do in their business. And so that might be a healthcare company that's trying to develop new treatments. It could be an automaker that's trying to figure out how to make more automated driving features or a fully self-driving car. Or it could be a manufacturing company that's looking for new ways to quickly turn over its manufacturing line, get more efficient in its processes. You name it, any industry out there, Nvidia is helping. This thing has a really long runway of growth. So regardless of the valuation right now, I like to add to this one on occasion. It's not necessarily cheap at the moment, but after getting beat up quite a bit this year, having a couple bad quarters as far as profits go, I think this one might be close to as good as it's going to get as far as valuation. Worth a buy and then forgetting about it for a while. Second up, Marvell Technology. This is a designer that hasn't gotten a ton of attention, but in recent years, they've made some moves that I think are going to land it on a lot more investors' radar. Let's do a quick introduction. Marvell is historically known for designing what's called a DPU, data processing unit. Maybe that sounds familiar to a CPU, central processing unit. That's the chip that you have in your computer, in your laptop, probably made by someone like Intel or AMD. But the DPU, the data processing unit, has particular use in the data center. It's kind of the chip that helps coordinate the movement of large amounts of information around these massive pieces of real estate, these huge computing units. So last year, Marvell made 2 sizable acquisitions to expand its portfolio beyond just the DPU. Notably, one company makes network switches and the other photonics and other networking hardware. So they have the DPUs. Now they also have the equipment that you could kind of call like the highway of the data center and of the internet itself. So they don't just coordinate the movement of the data, but they also make the gear that actually transmits the information from point A to point B as well. Now, I think this is significant because the data center is the basic computing unit of cloud computing, and enterprises all over the world are rapidly adopting cloud-based infrastructure for their operations. They're migrating their old IT systems to the cloud. They're adopting new technology using the cloud. And so Marvell is really at the heart of this movement and helping lots of organizations build these massive computing units. And we're also seeing some new use cases for DPUs and the hardware that carries information as well. Just one example, again, the modern vehicle. It doesn't have to be a self-driving car, just a new vehicle that has an advanced driver assist system, things like maybe lane assist or adaptive cruise control. Modern vehicle has to take in a lot of information. And so it has a lot of chips that help process that information. And then also that information needs to travel somewhere from the sensor to the computing unit of the car. So Marvell is coming up with a lot of new uses for its chips like this as well, automotive being just one of them. Now, again, I don't think this is the most timely buy out there right now. Again, this is not a cheap stock. Right now, Marvell Technology Group trades for just over 40 times trailing 12-month free cash flow. However, this company thinks it has a really long runway of growth. They think they can grow revenue in the double digits for many years to come. And along the way, their profit margins are expanding. So I think this is a great stock that you can buy and hold for the long term. And for the final stock, a company called ASML Holding. This is actually a company based in the Netherlands. This is the closest thing you are going to find to a monopoly in the chip industry. ASML makes equipment that helps manufacture chips. So they design this equipment, they sell it to a chip manufacturer. That chip manufacturer can expand or maybe increase the complexity of the chips that they can make. In particular, ASML designed the system called the EUV, Extreme Ultraviolet Lithography machine. So what is that? So lithography refers to the process of printing, if you will, the actual circuit on a chip. The hole on the chip that conducts electricity and makes computing happen in the first place. But chips are getting smaller, they're getting more complex. So EUV, extreme ultraviolet light, is being used to print these extremely intricate, extremely small chip patterns. Now, there is an older technology called deep ultraviolet lithography. ASML has a couple of competitors on this front, but upwards of like half of its sales each quarter are EUV. They have no peers. No one else is doing this. There are some issues with this company. Sometimes a third of their sales go to China. And as of late, the US, even the Netherlands have put restrictions on ASML and what they can sell China. One of them is EUV. So that has put a damper on their sales growth. However, lots of countries around the world are looking to increase their chip output. They want to increase the complexity of chips that they can manufacture at home. And so ASML is enjoying a lot of new orders from a lot of new chip manufacturers in a lot of new countries. If you look at the stock on a price to free cash flow basis at 16 times price to free cash flow, it looks cheap. But I think it could be a bumpy road for them as far as profitability goes as they kind of manage these restrictions to China, again, which account sometimes for a third of their sales. That number is probably going to decrease here in the next 6 months to a year as they work through those restrictions. However, looking out over the next decade, with computing technology only getting more complex, the need for processing more and more data only on the rise from companies, for example, like Nvidia and Marvell Technology Group, I think ASML is going to have a lot of orders for these machines. These are really, really complex, really, really expensive pieces of equipment. I like this company, again, about as close as you're going to find to a monopoly in the chip industry. This is a fantastic buy it, set it and forget it stock for the next decade. There's my 3 set it and forget it chip stocks: Nvidia, Marvell Technology Group, and ASML Holding. Make sure you subscribe below. I've got more coming up On Chip Stock Investor, next week we're going to be taking a look at Moore's Law, why Nvidia keeps saying Moore's Law is dead, and then why companies like Intel keep countering and saying, no, Moore's Law is not dead, it's alive and well. We're going to talk about that, why it's such a big deal, not just for the chip industry, but for really all technology and for the economy writ large. Stay tuned for that. Hope you all have a good weekend.